Thank you, Elaine, for those beautiful introductions. I'm going to share my screen, hopefully at this point. So excited to be with all of you today. Does the first slide appear?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So let me begin my presentation with the first word of gratitude for all of you who are here on day 2. Yay, what a great show up we have. And I'm so excited yesterday with expectations and hopes for the conference. The word Sustain Island Home and Carbon Tracker came up for some of you. I know some of you have attended our training webinars, and this is just such a wonderful moment for Lisa and me to be able to share this wonderful program with all of you. I want to say a word of thanks to Bishop Jennifer for hosting this conference, for Archdeacon Sarah and her amazing team, including Dr. Rod Douglas and Archdeacon Nina Pickerel from the Diocese of California. I'm especially grateful to my friend Lisa Altieri, who has brought forward this beautiful program to support people in making life choices that are sustainable and to do so in community. And I would be remiss if I did not also say a word of thanks to my dear husband, Mark Andrus, because this program is here today because Mark said we have to do more than take our conviction and our policies forward into different arenas, from the UN to state and local and national governments. We need to support people in making those choices that are life-giving. And so I'm so appreciative of Mark in holding that hope and vision. And of course, Lisa and I raised our hands. Yesterday was fabulous. We started off with Catherine Hayhoe helping us understand the importance of sharing our stories, being able to talk about what we love. Then we heard from Mark with words of hope and bringing to us the beloved community, those attributes of beloved community that include nonviolence and being interconnected, being conscious, including all, and racial reconciliation. It's a beautiful, beautiful way for us to approach the big work of care for creation. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from Bishop Catherine Jeffrey-Chory when she brings to us the Water of Life presentation this afternoon, and for Deacon Pam's presentation on care of creation. Very, very exciting. So what are we doing in this session? We are really hoping to support building a sustainable church movement from the ground up, beginning with households. And I really emphasize the word movement in this, because what we want to do is move from that place of connecting with what we love and what we want to protect and concerns to action and to advocacy. So I'm going to start with my story, and then we're going to hear your story, that important first breakout session where we'll get to practice a little bit what Catherine Hayhoe was encouraging us to do yesterday. And then we're going to go to our story, that dual challenge that we face in being able to care for creation. I'll touch on how Sustain Island Home can help. And then Lisa is going to do a deep dive. She's going to do this live demo, as only Lisa can, as the lead designer for this online program. And then we'll end with a call to action. So beginning with my story, this is the way we always begin our Sustain Island Home introductions. when we bring people together to learn about care of creation together using this online program. And so my story begins with this beautiful landscape of the Smoky Mountains. I was blessed to be born in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains in a little college town, Maryville, Tennessee. And so my beginning memories of the world were as majestic as these mountains, and it motivated me to be curious and to love exploring the natural world. It led in time with me becoming a scientist and studying entomology and working, as Elaine said, in the areas of environmental protection and global health. But while I was also growing up in that beautiful landscape, I was also being shaped in the Episcopal tradition in terms of my faith. And in thinking about sharing with you my story today, there were some things about being an Episcopalian that I think really prepares us for the moment that we're in and really connects with this opportunity that we have with the Sustain Island Home program. The first is the we versus me. One of my earliest memories in the Episcopal Church, getting prepared for Holy Communion before we use the term Eucharist, was saying the General Confession. And in that General Confession, we said the words, and we still have them today: Most merciful God, we confess that we have sinned against thee in thought, word, and deed by what we have done and by what we have left undone. So in that moment of the service, which for me was so tender and so important and so vulnerable, I was being taught through the liturgy that moving to a place of joy, being able to walk down the aisle to the communion rail, which I would explain to my many Baptist friends was our altar call in the Episcopal Church, that it was somehow tied up with we, that God's grace and blessing was not just to me. And that's what Sustain Island Home is. This is all of us together being climate champions. Growing up an Episcopalian also brought to me important covenants. In the baptismal covenant, we say that we seek and serve Christ in all persons, loving your neighbor as yourself, and striving for justice among all people, respecting the dignity of every human being. And in the Diocese of California, we talk about respecting the dignity of the earth itself. So in our important baptismal covenant, we're being connected with the most vulnerable, taking on as part of what brings meaning to our lives as people of faith, being connected with making a difference for those who are in need. And then more recently, we have the Creation Care Pledge, which Deacon Pam will explore with you later today, where our presiding bishop, Michael Curry, really invites us into this life of faith using the words loving, liberating, and life-giving. Loving by sharing stories and hearing the stories. Liberating by standing with the most vulnerable. And life-giving by transforming our own lives, transforming our own habits so that we are living in a way that is more sustainable on the earth. And in my time of sharing with you, with a verse from Philippians, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This is a verse that has been very important for my life, that I've traveled with. It's a verse of possibility, and that's what I hope this session will bring to you today. So now we're at the point of your story. I'm going to stop share in a minute, but in this time that you have together, what I'd like for you to do is let's practice a little bit what Catherine Hayhoe invited us to do yesterday. Think about what you love, those values so dear to your life. As Mark said yesterday, what we love, we protect. And as we know, the climate crisis is the container issue. Everything we love will be better or will be impacted as we care for the creation that God has given you to think about what's bringing you to this moment, what you love, what you want to protect. And I also put a little phrase here in the call to be a deacon. This is something that is so impactful in the ordinations of deacons that I've had the privilege to attend. There's a particular line for deacons. You're called to interpret to the church the needs, concerns, and hopes of the world. So in this moment of feeling and connecting with what you love and how that relates to care of creation, I just wanted to bring that part of the examination for deacons to your attention as well, because I believe deacons are both shepherds and change agents. And I'm hopeful in how you will join us in this. So I'm going to stop share at this point so that you can share your story with each other. Thank you. I was just so blessed to be in a breakout discussion and to hear the sharing of stories from some of the attendees. And I hope that all of you enjoyed your time sharing stories, which is the way we start with Sustain Island Home. I'm going to go next to our story. And our story means meeting a dual challenge, a challenge of addressing the climate crisis because impacts are happening now, but also a little bit of a challenge of mobilizing people of faith. 5 billion people of 7 billion on planet Earth today are people who say that they adhere to a faith tradition that holds the earth as sacred. So being able to help people of faith, seeing the earth as part of this sacred created world, connect their hearts, their minds, and their hands to action, it's really important. And moving from the me to we. And as John Lewis showed with his life in starting Good Trouble, moving from concern and love of things that are precious to us to action and also to advocacy. And this is really how Sustain Island Home can help us. So the first challenge of the climate crisis, these are just a few photos. And Catherine Hayhoe laid that challenge out for us very clearly yesterday. We know storms are more extreme. We are living right now in the moment with forest fires here in California that are have been shown to be related to climate change. Mark and I were looking at radar images of the fire very close to one of our camp and conference centers here in the Diocese of California. So this is a reality that people are living today. And this slide, the main thing I would want to point out is that we know that climate change is happening, and it's happening faster than predicted. And our actions in the next 10 to 15 years matter. And actually, this slide shows some tipping points for 1 degree warming, 2, 3, 4. The actions that we take, we made this slide when being aware that our actions really matter within the next 10 to 15 years was a time frame. It's now closer to our actions within 10 years because it is moving quickly. The climate crisis is also one that is a crisis of social justice. We know that those that are the least responsible are the first and the hardest hit. We have conservative estimates today are between 20 and 40 million people every year who have to leave their homes because of storms or conflict or drought where they can't grow their food. That we know that the climate change is affecting availability of food. It affects the access to and quality of water. It affects income. So the climate crisis has some very, very real impacts that we see in our own lives and that we know are heavily impacting people who are least able to respond. And so that brings us to the second challenge of supporting and mobilizing people of faith. We believe that Sustain Island Home, which has the reach of the internet, but is used in a relational and personal way to help us work in community, is a wonderful opportunity and part of the answer. Sustain Island Home, as I said, is introduced personally and used within community. It begins with deep listening to understand barriers and to connect with our values. So here's some of what we know to be true and that Catherine Hayhoe was pointing to a little bit yesterday. We know that for some people, climate grief is real, that there's a sense of despair that no matter what I do, it won't be good enough. Or some people feel that, it's gonna cost too much money, or it's gonna cost and displace people from jobs. Or some people feel like it's just too late. The problem is too big. So we need to be able to really listen carefully and appreciate those concerns if they emerge and understand how to respond, which is that we can make a difference. Knowing what to do is empowering, and it is a hopeful thing. So I love this series of photographs. They're from some of our parishioners in Menlo Park. And it's just emphasizing how much fun it can be to support and mobilize people of faith in their own communities, moving from a me to we and from concern to action. So how can Sustain Island Home help? It is an online program that helps you learn, take action, work together, and it supports our advocacy. It is a program that connects Episcopalians to work in community. So this is a statistic that I love to share when I'm talking about Sustain Island Home. The fact that in the United States, 40% of greenhouse gas emissions come from 5 basic household activities that have to do with how we power our homes, electricity, home heating, transportation that's local, our local choices, as well as air travel, and choices that relate to food and how we recycle. And in addition to this, 40% of greenhouse emissions come from our household activities, is the good news that we now have affordable and accessible options for all 5. So this is just a series of photographs that shows some examples of some of these technologies and practices that require no new technology at all, and how our household actions can make a difference. So there are a lot of choices each person can make, and when we work together in community, our choices can make a big difference. So what a surprising statistic this is. If we have 1.5 million Episcopal households, our part of the province of the Anglican Communion, making a reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions, that is equal to what Coca-Cola is producing in their manufacturing on a yearly basis, or the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that many less developed countries are producing annually. And we know that this is just a beginning. the Episcopal province of the Anglican Communion is actually comprised by 17 member states of the United Nations, which means that we are able to take our stories from people who are actually seeing the sea level rise and the extreme storms affecting coastal areas, or drought conditions, or permafrost, for example, in Alaska, that we can take those into our conversations that are global as well as local. And this is a slide that is just a reminder that in 2018, there were a historic 19 resolutions passed to help support care of creation. And I am very grateful to say that Sustain Island Home was one of those resolutions, C008, Education and Advocacy for Creation Care. Our own presiding bishop today, Michael Curry, and before Michael, Bishop Catherine Jefferts-Shorey, both lean into this challenge of creation care. This is a quote from our presiding bishop that really is forwarding the understanding that the family of God includes all, and that this creation is precious, and that we dare not deface what God has made. So, how does Sustain Island Home work? As I said, it has the reach of the internet. It helps you measure your carbon footprint for your home. That you learn about actions that you can take from over 70 options that make sense for your home and make sense in terms of schedule for your home. You take those actions, and when you take them, they're aggregated to your church, added to your diocese and across the Episcopal Church, so we can see the impact we're making together, and where our voice as Episcopalians is amplified. One of the things that Catherine Hayhoe spoke to yesterday, in addition to sharing our story, was being part of policy and helping with this systemic change, which is good trouble that John Lewis was talking about. Well, we can be better advocates for change when we can say, look what we're doing, we're making a difference. The Sustain Island Home also helps us share information and resources with others. So at this point, I'm going to stop share so that Lisa Altieri can join. She's going to do a live demo, as only Lisa can do, as the expert she is, and a person who has brought her passion and love for this beautiful world into her life's work. So Lisa, it's yours.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sheila. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see my screen okay? Wonderful. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for the invitation to join today. It is so wonderful to be here with all of you, and I'm so excited to share this. So I was encouraged to say a little bit about my story and where this came from. And I have been working as a climate activist and organizer for over 15 years. And when I first started working as an organizer on climate, we all thought, okay, the science is clear, we just need to go get policy passed. However, over 10 years of working very hard to get policy passed, it became clear that policy was not going to be happening at the pace that we really needed to. And I was aware of this huge growing chasm between where policy commitments are and where science says we need to be. And so I took a moment to really think, it was more actually a few moments, to really think about what can I do? What can I do to help and look for other opportunities for us to bring solutions forward in addition to policy? In 2018, the UN publishes something called a gap report every year, and it looks at the gap between country commitments globally and science-based goals. And in 2018, with their report, they put a plea out to civil society, to companies, cities, organizations, individuals, to take action and do everything that we can today to move solutions forward, to help to meet these goals and keep things moving while we still work on policy. And so I started to look at this, and I started to look at what the opportunities were, and I was amazed to find out how much we can do daily in our individual lives that make a huge difference. As Sheila mentioned, 40% of our US emissions are coming from 5 basic household activities where we have solutions. And the most important part is that this is new. And so a lot of people really don't know. This was not the case 5 or 10 years ago. It used to be if you wanted to make a big impact at your household level and your household activities, it was either really expensive or the solutions just weren't there. There were not easy options in some areas. And that's changed. And so this is a really important moment that we're in today, where we now have an opportunity to really make some changes at the household level that are affordable and accessible, and really significantly reduce our impact. And at the same time, these actions save us money, and they also help with our air quality, and they also create local jobs. So we are really in a win-win situation now around these actions that we can take in our household. And then beyond that, there's also the actions of talking with others and continuing to advocate for policy. So with this, with what I learned, I felt that the most important thing that I could do would be to help others learn, because Yale studies have shown that 60% of Americans as of last year are worried about climate change, and they want to help, but they don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. They don't know about these actions because a lot of them are new. And so we thought the best thing we could do is provide a way to make it easy for people to learn about these solutions and take action in community with each other. So here you see on my screen the beautiful Sustain Island Home page. And I'm actually going to turn my video off because sometimes screen sharing in video doesn't work. Let me see, move this here. So this is our the beautiful Sustain Island Home page. It's very easy. You just go to sustainislandhome.org, and you'll see here at the top of the page some information already about people engaging with the Sustain Island Home program across the US. And it's always, to me, very inspiring, because every time I come to this page, the numbers are increasing. And so there's already over 500 tons of carbon emissions that have been reduced. And then below that is a beautiful letter from Presiding Bishop Curry. And then down here, you can choose your diocese. You can designate your diocese. And then under there, once you designate your diocese, if your bishop has provided us a letter, you'll see a letter from your local bishop. Letter here, a beautiful one from Bishop Andrus. There's a little bit of information about the challenge for folks that are new. And then there's also a place for testimonials. And we would love to have testimonials from all of you to add here onto the Sustain Island Home page. And then below here, a little bit about how it works. The Sustain Island Home program is really simple. You create a profile, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now so that we can help you with action, and then take actions and then work together. And then down here at the bottom, this is why they call us the carbon tracker. This is where you can see the progress in more detail across the US and the Episcopal Church. So all the households participating, dollars saved, tons of CO2 emissions reduced, actions completed, so in addition, kilowatt hours and therm saved. So you can see all that information here. And then down here at the bottom, you can also see information by diocese. And then you can choose to see information by congregation within your diocese. So some folks think, oh, well, this is kind of fun. We can have a competition. But that's not required. I personally think of it as just amazingly inspiring information and numbers. It's just so amazing to me every time I come here to see more activity happening and more actions being taken. This information really can be a place to be amazed and to celebrate all of the work that you all are doing. So then here at the top, when you're ready to get started, you just click Get Started. It's very easy. There's two things that we need to know to get started. The first is what state, where do you live? So we put in your state. So if I'm in Arizona and I'm in Ajo, then I would put in my state and my city. It's important for us to know the city you live in because that is what will drive all of the analytics that we do on the site. So when we help to calculate your carbon footprint and show you the impact from your actions, we use information that's relative to where you live. So this is really important that it's the city you live in, not your church city, but where your church is located, but the city that you live in. And then the second thing is to designate your diocese. So, and your church, your congregation. So here, put in your diocese and then choose your church. So once you do this and you click sign up, then you'll be brought to a page that looks just like this, where you can create an account. Then once you create an account, you'll be brought to inside the program. There'll be a little welcome message that'll pop up. And then after that, you'll be brought to a new, it'll say your account name here, your household name will be here, and you'll have information here on how to get started. So the program is really easy. As I mentioned before, you start off by completing an energy profile, which tells us a little bit about what you're doing now, and then you'll be able to find and choose actions. Just 2 steps, very simple steps. And then the other starting step is actually already done. So we encourage people to join or start a community. And when you enter through the Sustain Island Home page, you are already connected to your community, to your congregation. So let me show you how that works here. This is where you find your community page. It's the little icon here. So the navigation for the site is very simple. It's mostly to navigate. This icon here, the little house, that is your dashboard. That's where you find all the information for your own household. This, your group, this is where you'll find your congregation. And then this is where you find actions. And we'll touch on these two later, but these are the main ones: your household, your congregation, and where you find actions. So I'm going to click on this. And so when you first come to this tab, it will actually look, apologies, it'll look like this. So when you first come to your congregation, it won't have a photo and it won't have a welcome message here. What it will have is a little hand. So since you're all leaders, I encourage you when you first come to your congregation to be the leader to stop and to make this page your own, to help start to create your community. So all you do is click on this little button and say add a phone number and then click become leader. And then once you become leader, then you can click here. It'll change from a hand into a gear. You can click on this and you can add in a photo here, and you can also add in a welcome message for your congregation members. As they join, they'll be welcomed in with this message here. This information here is only visible to the group leader. So your members that join for your congregation, they won't see this, but you will have it here. And so there's 2 things here. One is a custom link that you could use this to invite members to your congregation. However, we recommend that instead of using this, that you invite people to join through the beautiful Sustain Island homepage. So both work, but this is a more beautiful way to enter. However, if you find that it's more convenient for you to have folks join with this custom link, you can use that as well. The other thing that's here for you is what we call a group leaders toolkit. And so here, if you click on this, you will find a toolkit here to help you get started and with tips and ideas and suggestions around engaging your congregation. And it's actually really easy to engage your congregation. It is 3 basic steps: invite, connect, and celebrate. So here, you'll find suggestions on to invite folks to join. We recommend coming together in person to build community, and that can be in person or at this moment by Zoom. And so there's information on a sample invitation you can send out to invite people to come and learn about the Sustain Island Home program. Then connect. Once you come together, we have some recommendations and suggestions around meetings of how to do these meetings, how to help your time together as a community, focusing on Sustain Island Home to be as productive and as helpful as possible. So we have some suggestions. The first meeting is kind of special, where you introduce the challenge and invite folks to join. So we have information on that here, a suggested agenda. And then we recommend following that with 5 or 6 meetings where you focus in on some of the different topics that are covered in Sustain Island Home. Some of those topics are transportation, there's home energy, like home energy systems and energy efficiency actions. There's 2 sections, or a section on food and waste, and there's also a section on water, and there's also a section on community and learning. And this includes actions like how to talk about the climate crisis, as Catherine Hayhoe talked about yesterday. And then also how to be an advocate for change and care of creation theology and study guides. So these are some of the topics you can use for the ongoing meetings to sort of get folks introduced to the different sections of action on the site. And then there's an agenda for those meetings as well, some suggestions around how to make them really an opportunity for folks to share and really help each other. The core of this is to really come together as a community and share with each other as you take these actions and as you learn about the information. Because what happens is this amazing thing is when people start sharing about what they're doing and you know, what actions they're taking, they start to help each other out and support each other in this work. And so it's not just, well, I did this action, or I'm thinking about doing that action. It's like there becomes a conversation where, wait a minute, I wanted to do that action too. Let's look into it together. Or I just did that action and this really worked for me. Or I found this you know, provider that was really helpful in installing my new heat pump water heater. So creating this community and this conversation, people really get excited about helping each other. And that really is at the core of what makes this special. It is, as we've talked about and we all know, climate can be such an isolating and scary thing and issue for all of us. And so being able to come together as a community and work on solutions and take actions that can make a difference is really empowering, and it's really hopeful. So, and then after you finish that sort of initial set of meetings, 6, 7 meetings, when you've kind of worked through the different actions and you've learned about the things you can do, and maybe you've started taking some actions and sharing with each other, we recommend taking a moment to celebrate and acknowledge what you've accomplished and what you've done. And then keep meeting, find a time at your own pace. It could be once a month, it could be once a quarter, it could be twice a year. But keep in connection, keep coming back together in community. And there's all sorts of fun things you can do for those ongoing meetings. You can pick topics, you can do a hike together or a walk, you could do a river cleanup, you could focus in on care of creation theology. There's so many things you can do to bring into these ongoing meetings to help continue this conversation and continue to work together in taking action as a community. And at the bottom here, there's some additional resources that broaden out in additional information in addition to what's on the Sustain Island Home site. So that is here for you as a leader to access and look through. And actually, I also want to mention, in addition to the resources here, there's also other resources at the diocal.org/climate/climate site, where you can find demos, additional demos of the tracker. And then also you can join live webinars. So twice a month, there's a live webinar to join where you can come and see a demo and then also have a chance to ask questions and share with others that are working on this. So we highly recommend and would love to have you join for one of the webinars to tell us how it's going and share with others some ideas on bringing this to your congregation. So all these resources are here. You can also create a post here. So this is, I'm going to actually show you what this looks like. Once you have it all set up and you're taking action, then you can create a post. And these posts here, they go only to members of your congregation. So this is a way for you to communicate. As you can see here, you'll see posts on the right-hand side here. Whenever someone in your group finishes an action, they can create a post, or you can create a post and let people know about an event coming up. Maybe there's an event that's looking for volunteers, or maybe there's an important policy you want to advocate for. This is a place, this page is a place for you to create community around these actions, everything from changing your light bulbs to advocating for a policy, to talking with each other about climate and solutions. So this is really a place for you all to share with each other. And then also down the page, you'll see your combined impact as a congregation, and you'll be able to see your members and some of the actions that you are all taking. So this is your congregation page. And it's here for you to create that community and facilitate you creating that community. So going back a little bit to those first steps, these are the 2 steps to get going at the household level. So completing your energy profile and then choosing your actions. So the energy profile looks like this. It is a questionnaire that is focused on providing the information to you to show you where are you starting today? What is your impact today? And so we ask a few questions, kind of general questions about your household, some questions about appliances, a little bit about heating and cooling. And the only questions that might be challenging are here, and in a few places we ask about your heating fuels for your heater, your water heater, for your cooking. So this is the only place that it might be tough if you're not sure, because some of us may not have a heating bill, we may live in an apartment complex, or we may not have visibility. If you don't know how to answer this, it's okay. For these, we have an I don't know answer here. So you could select I don't know, and that's completely fine. And we'll do our best guess based on the heating fuels that are used in your area. So in some areas, we actually have the ability to automatically link in your utility data. This is available in some parts of the US and it depends on whether your utility has participated in the program. So this, if you have this available, if this shows up for you on your energy profile, it's very simple. You just click Add My Data, you add in your login information for your utility account, and then give your permission, and then we will have your data in a really simple, easy way. If we have your actual data, it allows us to provide you better estimates and better recommendations, but it's not required. Most places where this link is available, it is only for electricity. In a few places, it also includes gas, but most places it's only electricity. So if you also have gas and gas isn't included in your link, then you would want to enter that below. So if you don't have this link, then there's an opportunity for you to enter your data down here below. We need to have at least 12 months of numbers, consecutive months, in order for it to really work. Otherwise, it's best not to put the data in. And if you don't have 12 months of data, or if you don't have an electricity bill, because many folks don't have a bill, if that's the case, then just skip this section. Just completely skip it. Down here, click next at the bottom, and just keep going. And we will do an estimate based on the answers you've given us and information about energy use in your area. So transportation, we ask about transportation. How do you get around? You can add information on your cars, maybe air travel, maybe bus. however you're getting around. And then finally, we ask questions about food and waste. So those are the questions we ask on the energy profile. And then once you complete the energy profile, back on your household dashboard, which is here on the navigation, you'll be able to see your starting impact. So here, excuse me.
Lisa, I'm going to break in right now because this is super fascinating and I know everybody's super excited about it. We've got some other stuff on the agenda though. And so I think this is a great place to do an advertisement for coming attractions, both in terms of, as you mentioned, the online training that's available from Sustain Island Home that will go over some of the stuff you've already gone over, but in more detail and help people actually use the website themselves. Mm-hmm. And also for some of the follow-up we'll be doing with our September follow-on meeting. So maybe you can just make some conclusions and wrap up from what you're doing at this point. Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm almost done a couple minutes. Perfect. Is that okay?
If it's 2, yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, great. Thank you. So as I was saying, after you complete your energy profile, you can see your starting impact here. And then the final step is to go and explore actions and choose actions. So here, this is our action grid, and this is where you can explore actions by category. I wanted to highlight here that we have a community action section where we have actions around talking about solutions and getting involved with advocacy and policy, as well as all of the household actions. And we also have some good actions with information on talking points around climate and, importantly, the benefits of solutions. What are some of the wonderful benefits? And there's all sorts of different categories you can explore. And then you can also put in information about what's most important to you. If you rent, maybe savings is most important to you, and you can find actions that are custom to your household. And then finally, every action has a page of information, so you can explore the actions and learn a little bit more. And you can say a little bit about what you're planning to do here for each action, and learn about how much you can save. Your points are your impact. So points are tied to impact. 1 point is equal to 1 pound of CO2 reduced per year, or 10 gallons of water. And then down here, there's an introduction about the action. Why is it important? Why did we include it? And then there's between 2 and 5 steps that can help you walk through the actions. And then finally, once you choose your actions, then in the middle of your dashboard, you'll see your actions you're working on, and up here you can track your progress as a household. And then finally, you can always come back to your page with your community for your local congregation, and then track and see the progress for your diocese as a whole, or the Episcopal Church as a whole here on the Sustain Island homepage. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I think you all can see why I said both Dr. Sheila and Lisa are excellent presenters. And judging from the number of questions we've received in the chat, I'm gathering you think so too. So we'll do just a couple of questions. And I wanted to remind everyone that we will see about getting all of your questions addressed, and that information and more detail are made available in the post-conference website section. So I'm going to combine 2 questions because I think they reflect each other. Someone asked, does the province or national church give financial or logistical support for installing solar? And a second question is, someone's parish has already completed a zero carbon initiative, including solar, and are looking to connect with other parishes doing this work. Is there a way for parishes to connect with each other on Sustain Island Home? And that's for either Lisa or Dr. Sheila.
Well, I'll start and then Lisa can jump in. In terms of Sustained Island Home is for the household and for us to support each other in changing actions at the level of the household so that we can be part of reducing that 40% of contribution to greenhouse gas. The solar option, in many places, there are funding resources. In the Diocese of California, for example, 7 years ago, our diocese connected churches with funding resources so that every congregation that wanted solar could have it on their church property. Solar is addressed in the carbon tracker for households. And the Sustained Island Home program can be adapted for the church campus, but it is not specific to the church campus. So Lisa, do you want to add comments to any of those, to what I said?
I don't think I have anything to add on that. I did want to mention really quickly, because this is really important, the carbon tracker itself is actually open to others outside of the congregation. And so when you join the tracker through the Episcopal Sustained Island Home page, you're coming into a carbon tracker that invites other communities. So in addition to folks from your congregation working, you may also see a local high school or a Boy Scout troop or another faith community working locally in the tracker. So I just wanted to note that for folks. And so that is all part of our program. And so you can also welcome people outside of your congregation to use the site. So I just wanted to add that in. And I think in terms of connecting with other congregations, there's nothing in the tool that allows you to connect directly. The tool is focused mostly on connecting you at the congregation level, but I think that's something that you could coordinate at a diocese level if that was an interest.
Cool. We have a little bit of a compressed time here, so I'm going to ask another question, and then one after that, and then we'll wrap it up. The first question is a very pragmatic one. Is the tracker in or being translated into Spanish?
It has a complete Spanish translation today. Up on the top right of the dashboard, once you're in, you'll see a Spanish translation.
Thank you. And then several people have made comments that they've had trouble using the tracker in the past, like in a year or so ago. And so I don't think we have time to troubleshoot individual questions, but is there a way, or how would people with individual questions contact you if they do run into some kind of an issue? Is there a help button or a help website for them?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, we launched the program a year ago, and on launch, we had a few things that we learned we needed to improve a little bit to help people use the site. Those have been done, and the site should be very user-friendly for you. However, if you have any questions at all, please join the webinars. They're twice a month, and they're open to anyone to come with questions or topics of discussion to share with others. But also in the tool itself, on the navigation bar, on the blue navigation bar on the left, there's a little question mark button. You can click on that and you can fill out the form, and that will go straight to us and you can ask your question.
Great.
An additional way that people can bring questions as well as an interest, if they would like for Lisa and me to work directly with them on the process and an approach for bringing Sustained Island Home to their diocese or their congregation, send a message to sustainedislandhome@diocal.org, DIOCAL.org. That will get that request, whether it's troubleshooting or, hey, we're interested in talking to you about how we can form a core team in our diocese or how we can get this started in our church. It'll bring it to the team's attention. sustainedislandhome@diocal.org.
Great. Thank you both so very much. I think everyone, obviously by the number of questions that were scrolling, were really engaged with that. And as we commented before, we will get some of the websites that have been listed to you off to you. And Dr. Sheila and Lisa have said that they'll help answer any questions that are didn't get addressed today. So we'll try and make sure to get that to you on the post-conference website. And there'll be information about that with an email that you'll get after the conference. So we will now go to approximately a 30-minute breakout session. And so if you need a bio break, do that at the very beginning of your breakout session, but make sure you come back to the breakout session, because you'll have an opportunity to share your reactions to the idea that we can be climate champions. And your prompt question is, which of the things that you heard will directly impact your ability to take these ideas back to your parish? And then once again, your scribes will help select one or two things to put up on poll everywhere, so we can get a sense afterwards about the flavor of your conversation and all of our conversations. So we'll be going into our group sessions now. Enjoy.
And Elaine, just so you know, I think we'll be okay with 40 minutes. So we'll give you 40 minutes if you need a little bit of a potty break.
Excellent, excellent. Okay.
I do my screen share. And, oh shoot. Wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah.
Okay, here it comes.
Yes.
Page dedicated to Sustain Island Home, this program. And there are resources there. The webinar schedule, we have webinars twice a month. I believe the next one is coming up next Wednesday. Everyone is invited. It's a wonderful way to see not only the live demo and the recent upgrades, because it is, there are improvements made regularly, but to also have time for questions and for community conversation. And there are a lot of guides and videos and PowerPoints to help. Just a word about the process. We are a networked community. We have our churches, we are connected through our diocese and then across the Episcopal Church. So Sustain Island Home is really designed to work in community. And so, you know, the first step is obviously getting a little bit more support and training through attending one of our webinars or working with someone in your diocese who has done a little bit of work with this online program themselves. And the next step is to have that thoughtful conversation with your church leadership so you can really benefit from their engagement, their advice, their involvement, and look at ways to bring this into a church program. And then the last, of course, is that there's a dual process of launching this program and then bringing people back together, which Lisa was covering. So here's what I want to end with. You can communicate with us. SustainIslandHome.org is the landing page. SustainIslandHome@diocal.org will always get a question to our team or a request. We want to work one-on-one with you, have your support to bring this into our diocese or into our congregation. And it's as easy as just going to the landing page and signing up and getting started. My hope is that with this presentation today, that each of you will sign on and use this for your own home, that you'll ask the question of yourself, who else can I work with, so that we can share it with others. One of the interesting facts that I'm aware of that's so inspiring to me is the story of the work of Frank Lombach. And I don't know if you know who he is, but in the early 20th century, he was concerned about adult literacy. And he actually, before the internet, before lots of money resources, he brought the ability for 60 million people in 200 different languages to know how to read and write in their own language and their own dialect. And he did it with this guiding phrase, each one, teach one. So that's what we're about. We're about walking this path together, helping each other, learning from each other, together being climate champions. And what Lisa and I and others on our Sustain Island Home team pledge to you is that we will help you with this. We'll be there. SustainIslandHome@dialcal.org. Send us a message and let us know how to help. So that's my ending, Elaine. And I don't know if Lisa wants to say a word or two, but we're just grateful for this time to be with you today.
Absolutely. I just wanted to also say thank you so much. It's been wonderful to be here. And the final thought I'll leave you with is that what's so important when you walk into learning about these actions and doing the work is just to have there to be space for everyone to do this at their own pace, to be called to the actions that work for them, and to have there be room for everyone to really do this as it works best. So no pressure, just community and support. Thank you all so much.